Hello, everyone. How are you today? It's been a bit since I have been live in this group, in this community. But every time I get to be live with you all, it's good. It's good. And I'm glad to be here. You'll see my background looks a little bit different. We are in our new house, although we're still working on things. We're still very much so in the moving progress, making progress every day, but very much so still in the process of moving. And so there are boxes all around. We don't have a mattress yet. But this is my new master bedroom because my office doesn't have a floor in it yet. So we're working on that. It's been such a process. And so for those of you that are new here or just tuning in to a live stream with me for the first time, I'm Dr. Toni. This is the community that I've created for you, for me, for us, for all of us to be able to experience more support, satisfaction, and success in our lives that's meaningful and fulfilling, not just for the sake of it, not for vanity, but actually for us to enjoy our lives. And if you are coming back, welcome back. I appreciate you, your time, your presence, your gifts, your everything that you bring to the world that's unique to you. And I appreciate you for being here with me in this moment, whatever day and time it might be for you. And if you have been through the moving process with multiple young children before, then you may have an idea of where we've been the past few weeks. I actually haven't sold our last home yet. There's still some bits and pieces we need to address there before putting it on the market. So we're fixing that house up, fixing this house up, of course, tending to the kiddos who are home from school because it's summer. I'm 6 months pregnant, so I'm listening to my body and doing my best to tune into what it needs and not push it too hard, while also trying to practice patience because so obviously I'm biased, right? But I consider myself someone who has learned to practice flexibility in a very healthy way, so that I can go with the flow of life instead of pushing against it. However, I used to push against the flow of life by over planning, over preparing, overworking, overextending, over striving, overachieving, blah, 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 right? And so I do, as much as I respect, honor, and appreciate flexibility and flow, I also respect, honor, and appreciate having some kind of structure, some kind of organization. And so, as you may guess, this moving process with all these bits and pieces that have been going on while pregnant with the kids and the puppy and all of this stuff, it has not been chaos free. Let's put it that way, right? Like it hasn't been. And if I'm honest with you, there hasn't been more than like one thing that has actually gone according to plan. From the flooring being delayed like 7, 8 times, to it's still not being put in all the way now, to having to push back our moving truck, which then, led to me having to pay more for one of our storage units, to some issues with opening and maintaining the pool that we have a learning curve with because we've never had an in-ground pool to tend to for ourselves before, to finding landscapers for both houses, some of which either don't call back or don't show up, to finding some support with some of the repairs that need to be done, either at this house or that house. I mean, I could keep going, but you get the gist, right? And so I have been reminded throughout this process that while plans are fine, there's nothing wrong with having plans, with having structure. In fact, we do need some kind of structure in order to really thrive in life. We need a space for flexibility in order for us to really go with the flow of life without pushing up so hard against it that it creates resistance. Because in that resistance that it creates, overwhelm sets in. And that's what happened to me last week. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't want to admit that I was starting to feel overwhelmed, because I'm someone who has honestly dedicated my life to not just studying alignment, balance, flow in both the science and soul of that, not just sharing about it, inspiring, teaching, and guiding about it and writing about it, but living in it. Like, it is within integrity for me to live what I share. Not preach it, but like live it, to show it, to demonstrate it through my lived example. And that's at the micro level with my children, all the way to the macro level, to when I speak to larger audiences. And so to feel the overwhelm last week, part of me felt like, oh my gosh, what a hypocrite. How can I be someone who feels this way right now, and also be someone who teaches balance and, says that she lives in integrity by always striving for balance in her life? And here's the thing. Here's one of the lessons that these challenges have reminded me of, have brought me to revisit in these past few weeks, is that is the very thing that makes me human, and therefore not hypocritical. That I feel, that I allow myself now, didn't before for the first few decades of my life, but that I allow myself now to feel the spectrum of emotions, which sometimes might include overwhelm, sometimes might include sadness or anger or fear. And when I try to deny myself from feeling that, or tell myself that I should know better, or tell myself I should just be able to push through, then what I'm doing is I'm actually denying my humanness. And that is the opposite of what I teach, right? That's the opposite of what I want to live. That is the opposite of what science and soul both show us helps us to live sustainably fulfilling lives in a place of wellness, which is what we talk about when we're talking about balance. Is this place of wellness, this place that allows still for variety to happen in life. So there's still going to be stressors that happen in life. There's still going to be challenges. There's still going to be things we can't control. That's the variety of life. That's the contrast of life, all of that stuff. But as all of that stuff is happening, where wellness, where balance is really thriving and flowing, where we can really experience it, is when we're not pushing against trying to control all of that, but instead we're recognizing it for what it is, and we can step outside of it and we can say, I see you, I have emotions, I'm having internal reactions about you, and those emotions, those reactions are valid, and I'm going to create space for me to tend to them, to feel them, to process them. And in doing that, we reduce the intensity and the frequency of our stress response, of our overwhelm, right? And so because I initially didn't want to admit that I was starting to feel the overwhelm last week, what happened? Well, it grew. That's what happens when we ignore our emotions. And then when they grow, if you've read the Reset book, I talk about that in there, the Reset High Achiever's Guide to Freedom and Fulfillment. It's on Amazon, bestseller if you want to check it out. But I talk about that in that book, in one of the sections, right? If we ignore valid emotions that we experience, and they grow. And as they grow, they get louder, right? And they affect us in some way, whether it's through our body aches and pains or foggy brain or whatever the case is for you. It affects us all in a little bit of a different way. But as they grow, they get louder. And so we have to get better at numbing ourselves or distracting ourselves or pushing them down or hiding from them in some way, lest we allow ourselves to actually feel the emotions so that they can be released and not continue to snowball. I know that. I teach that. I've done that. And yet last week, I still allowed myself to have the overwhelm grow because I didn't want to admit I was beginning to feel some stress and overwhelm. I didn't want to admit that to myself. And so here I am sharing this with you because in order for me to move through that, truly to move through that, and to process that and to learn from it and to benefit from it, to see the blessings and the lessons on the other side of it, requires me being vulnerable and feeling it and sharing about it and owning it and claiming like my humanness. Because there's no human that can avoid feeling the variety of emotions at some point in time in their lives without suffering an immense cost. Because our emotions are part of what make us a social species, a feeling, living, interconnected species. And when we try to deny our emotions, we're kind of trying to act like robots, and we're not robots. We're not supposed to be robotic. We're not supposed to be robotic. And when I started to push myself too hard last week and then deny that I was pushing myself too hard, what I was doing was I was kind of treating myself like a robot. Oh, look at the outcome. Just keep pushing, just keep going. And I'm not a robot. You're not a robot. We're not robots, nor do we want to be, because that's not enjoyable. It's just functionality. There's no enjoyment there. Right. And even then, because we're not actually robots, our functionality declines if we push ourselves too hard without actually paying attention to the emotional experience. And so I want to come on here and I want to talk with you all about this for Toni Talk Tuesday today. I want to open up the conversation. I want to open up the channels for others who may connect with this or maybe seen others that they care about that, you know, might have struggled with this, because the truth is that the more we own the variety of emotions that we feel as humans, the more we can release the power that they have over us, whether that's us feeling like they're forcing us to numb or distract in some way, or us feeling so overwhelmed that the emotions actually taking over and making our decisions, and it feels like it's controlling our life because it just feels way too much, right? Whichever end of the spectrum you may tend to focus on, you may tend to operate in when things get a little bit too much or a lot of bit too much. We don't want to stay in those extremes. We want to be able to feel without getting sucked in and without having to push so hard against, because that is the balance. That is the wellness. That is what means that we are working with ourselves internally instead of fighting against ourselves internally. And I'm telling you, it changes things, but we're not going, no matter how much we practice it, we're not going to get it 100% of the time, right away, all of the time, because we're human. I'm not going to catch it 100% of the time, all of the time, and then therefore avoid feeling any challenging emotions forevermore. I'm not going to. And that is what makes me human. That is what makes me able to be here and have these conversations with you in an open, honest, relatable, raw way, in a real way. And that openness, that rawness, that connection, that vulnerability in these kind of conversations, that's life-changing and world-changing. And it takes courage to do that, because it's me admitting that I have my own challenges. I have manifested so much this year, and yet there's still challenges that I navigate, and there will be, because I'm learning through them. I'm growing through them, and I never want to stop learning. I never want to stop growing, but I do want to practice appreciating where I'm at and what I've got and who I'm with and who I am more and more and more, even while on this journey of learning and growing, right? And there's a delicate balance there, and it's a really important one. And so I'd love to see what comes up for all of you today. If you're interested, or if you feel really pulled to share your comments, contributions, or questions, they are all relevant, they are all valid, and they are all merited and wanted here in this space. That is why we have this community here. And I'm going to share this video on YouTube as well, and other platforms. So if you are coming in and you're not in the Reset community in our Facebook group, that's okay. If there's a comment section on the platform that you are finding this video on, go ahead and chime in below. And once I get the notification, I will join in on that conversation to continue it with you, because these conversations are so important for us to have as parents, as leaders, as partners, as citizens, as human beings in this world. Being with me here today. And if you want to connect further or find other resources, be it free resources that I have out there for you, like the free Q&A submission in order for me to support you and answer your questions anonymously, or other videos that I have out there, you can go to www.boldandbalancecoaching.com. And there you'll also find other opportunities if you want to discover ways that we can work together and see if we're a good fit for working together. I'd be happy to discuss those opportunities with you. There's a button at the top of the website where you can click for a free consultation. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the website, there's a button for a free clarity assessment, which gives you the chance to print out your clarity assessment or just pull the PDF up on your computer, and you can check in with yourself you don't have to share it with anyone. It's just for you, right? And see where you're at in your life as far as feeling the success and the satisfaction in a meaningful way that works for you and what you want for you, for your life, for your family, and for your profession, wherever you're at, personally or professionally. So have an amazing day. And until next time, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and share if you are joining us on YouTube. See you later.